Hello everyone and thanks for joining us. This is AMECO Haber English service and you're watching our daily updates. I'm Gaila Damu. Stay tuned. According to residents of Alamata city, the swift implementation of the peace agreement by the Ethiopian government has restored basic services and the return of lives to normalcy in war-torn areas. Brownwork and reports.
Following the African Union-led peace agreement to end the conflict in the northern part of the country, the federal government has been taking concerted measures based on the agreement. Alamata is among the cities which faces tremendous human sufferings, damage to properties and infrastructure in the 2-year-long war. Early this week, the Ethiopian news agency media crew has visited the city and surroundings. Electricity, telephone and banking services are restored and the inhabitants are breathing air of peace. Office head of City Task Force Denabo Melesa said that through the concerted efforts of the government, all social services such as electricity, bank, internet and others have been restored in the city. Alamata and the surrounding areas have now become stable, he said, adding that things are getting back to normal, even if there is still much to be done. The inhabitants are praying for durable peace. Among the residents, Serkale Modajo, a 50-year-old resident of the town, told Ina that the inhabitants had to endure sufferings in the past months. The level of suffering had no manifestation or dimension. That gloomy condition during the war seemed endless, but by the grace of God, we have reached here. Sarkalem, who sells spices in an open market in the heart of Alamata city during the conflict, also said that there had not been any trade during the conflict over the past months. She added that her stand at the marketplace was demolished and the wood is taken for us as a firewood. According to her, peace has prevailed in the city after the Ethiopian National Defense Force took control of Alamata in October 2022. Moreover, the residents have started normal activities like trading and harvesting, as well as receiving aid supplies. Emergency food assistance has been delivered, Sarkalem said, adding that she had received food in the first round from government and other humanitarian agencies. The other inhabitant, Mbota Halefom, said on her part that the price of commodities is much lower than in the past as a result of the peace agreement. For instance, the trader Mbota stated that the price of teff, the most common cereal crop in Ethiopia, was 100 birr per kilogram a month's age. Now it is sold 50 birr. Previously, everything was expensive as far as market prices were concerned. We are now buying things at a relatively cheaper price. After the National Defense Force entered this area, we are also enjoying peace. Johannes Melesa said, even if we were in difficulties in the past several months, we are now breathing air of peace and resuming work to earn our livelihood. The youngster who sells clothes said, now we have peace and we are trading. As you can see, I had been displaced for the past 17 months because of the war, but now the National Defense Force is in the city and peace has prevailed. We are breathing the air of peace. According to him, the residents of Alamata and surrounding areas are relieved. The people had been anxiously waiting for peace.
Ministry of Peace has called on scholars to play a leading role in the nation-state building process by coming up with knowledge-based solutions. Modom Liye has the details.
In National Scholars Consultative Forum attended by university presidents, heads of research institutes and other relevant bodies was launched under the theme Nation-State Building and the Role of Scholars. Speaking at the forum, Peace Minister Bernal Pandualam said the aim of the forum is to achieve lasting peace in Ethiopia in highlighting mutual issues. According to the minister, the nation-state building is an ongoing process in Ethiopia, and scholars should therefore come up with knowledge-based solutions instead of indulging in mutually destructive activities. Noting that nation building bears fruit through building strong and independent institutions, he called on scholars to play the lion's share in the process. Planning and Development Minister Fitsum Asafa said on her part that scholars have the responsibility to sustain the all-round victory, peace and freedom inherited from their ancestors. She called on scholars to play a positive role in the institutional building process in order to realize a prosperous Ethiopia for all. Chief Government Whip Tasfaye Beljige said Ethiopia is a symbol of Africa's independence, manifestation of ancient civilization, and a country with proud history. He added, though the country has a 3,000 years nation-state and administration history, it has failed in building strong and sustainable institutions. Tasfaye noted that the government has made great efforts to build independent and neutral institutions in the past 4 years. The whip underscored the role and strong participation of scholars is therefore crucial in ensuring the success of the government's endeavors. Education Minister Professor Brahanu Nagga said that a scholar is a person who comes up with knowledge-based solutions to the problems of the society. Hence, the professor noted that scholars should use their knowledge to extricate the society from poverty and show the path to better life.
South Korean Ambassador Seo Ki said that the peace agreement signed between the government of Ethiopia and TPLF will encourage Korean companies to invest in Ethiopia. Abebe Burhani has the details.
Ambassador Kang Seo-ki said that South Korea and Ethiopia have been enjoying special friendship over the last several decades. He stated that the embassy will therefore work together with South Korean and Ethiopian business people, and he hopes next year they can make progress in attracting Korean investment to Ethiopia.
Korean companies which succeed in doing business in Ethiopia, they are textile garment industry, and also there are construction company which do construct work here in Ethiopia. But there are many opportunities are open to the market in Ethiopia, and in particular this year we see new development in terms of peace process in the northern part of this country. And as the COVID-19 situation comes down, as the peace process is making progress, I think we can have more opportunity where Korean companies look to Ethiopia as a new market.
Ethiopia has a great economic potential, and when the situation calms down next year, more and more South Korean companies would be encouraged to come to Ethiopia. The ambassador stressed the paramount need to focus on business and regional as well as global issues in order to further strengthen the partnership and friendship between the two countries.
It is important to continue to help Ethiopia achieve sustainable development with new technology, innovation, which Korea has a strong impact to the world. So we like to share our development experience with Ethiopia to move forward with our idea of how facilitating the development process of Ethiopia with our technological innovations.
Ambassador Seo-ki said the countries have extensive development program of cooperation project and added that South Korea will continue to implement the ongoing activities delayed by COVID-19 and the conflict in the north. According to the ambassador, South Korea would like to help Ethiopia's peace and prosperity with the assistance of Korea. He stated that the annual trade volume between South Korea and Ethiopia stands at just $200 million and investment is also about $40 million. But he thinks there are great potentials that South Korean companies can do business here in Ethiopia. Next year marks the 60th anniversary of the establishment of Ethiopia and South Korea diplomatic relations.
India's ambassador to Ethiopia, Sheikh Tong, said the recent diplomatic outreach of Ethiopia to various countries is commendable. Modom tells us more.
In an exclusive interview with Ethiopian news agency, Ambassador Robert Shetkintong said the country's outreach to the world is commendable.
Ethiopia's outreach to various countries are commendable. As a country, as an independent country, as a sovereign country, you have various levels of interactions. Your outreach to US, your outreach to Russia, your outreach to China, your outreach to India are all independent, and it's not like a zero-sum game, because in the sphere of diplomacy, there is no limit. You can expand, explore your relations with any country.
Stating that Ethiopia is the second largest country in terms of population in Africa for the last many years, he noted that the economy has been growing with commendable growth rates. According to him, this means that Ethiopia is an important country not only in terms of economic opportunities but also in playing important role in the Horn of Africa.
Every country in the world knows the importance of Ethiopia, not only as an independent country, but as a country that has a lot of say, a lot of influence in this region. So that is why Honorable Ethiopian Prime Minister's visit to US, his visit to various other countries will always be watched and are commendable diplomatic initiatives. So I would only say that Ethiopia can only stand to benefit, and you will grow.
Speaking on India's commitment and support to Ethiopia at various international arenas, the ambassador stated that since the conflict erupted in the northern part of Ethiopia, India has always taken the principled stance that Ethiopia is a sovereign country.
India has always taken this principled stand that Ethiopia is a sovereign country. We respect the territorial integrity of Ethiopia, and Ethiopia must find Ethiopian solution for Ethiopian problems. And now, with what is happening since November, I can only reiterate is that peace must win. Peace is the best solution for any country. Peace must reign.
India has always stood for sisters and brothers from the global south, Ambassador Shetkintong said. To emphasize this point, the ambassador stated that India has assumed G20 presidency since 1st December this year, and the African Union will be invited to attend the summit. India is saying that the global south or the developing south is an important partner for any solution to a global issue, whether it will be the economy, environment, or health issue. Ambassador Shetkintong stressed that India, Africa, or the developing South have to come together and raise issues. This will also suggest remedies to problems. In this regard, he noted that the relations between Ethiopia and India are excellent.
Because of our excellent relations, the receptivity that we have with Ethiopian people, I am very positive that our 75 years celebrations will be a successful one.
India and Ethiopia have long-standing economic and commercial relations which are centuries old and can be traced back over 2,000 years of recorded history. Ethiopia, which witnessed diplomatic pressure following the conflict in the northern part of the country, has been pursuing principled position in its diplomatic endeavors. These are non-interference in the sovereignty of the country and seeking African solutions for African problems.
Tigrayan scholars and youths have expressed their readiness to discharge their responsibilities in order to sustain the peace agreement and realize the development undertakings being underway in Ethiopia. Brown Workana has the story.
Scholars and youths from the Tigray region discussed the process of national reform, the implementation of the peace agreement, the reconstruction efforts in Tigray region and their role in ensuring the country's development endeavors. Chief Government Whip at the House of People's Representatives, Tesfaye Beljige, and Coordinator for Democracy System Building Coordination Center, with the rank of minister, Dadi Gabraha, have briefed the participants about the government's activities in the national reform and its commitment in the effective implementation of the peace agreement. During the briefings, the officials mentioned that the government is carrying out reform activities with a view to addressing Ethiopia's political, economic and social problems from their roots. However, they said internal and external problems were encountered in the course of the reform activities, citing the war in the northern Ethiopia as one of such incidents. Recall that the government has repeatedly demonstrated its commitment to peace before the war. Even after the war, it had exerted efforts by giving priority to peace. The officials have also said the government is currently implementing the peace agreement without any disruption. The government of Ethiopia has been making efforts to provide unfettered humanitarian aid to areas affected by the conflict, they said, pointing out the activities being carried out to restore and commence telecom, electricity, banks and other services in these areas. The participants of the consultation, for their part, appreciated government's endeavor to ensure peace and development in the country, citing the government's encouraging activities being underway in Tigray region to sustain the peace agreement that demonstrates the commitment of the government. They also said the peace agreement has given hope to the people of Tigray. The people of Tigray will no longer shoulder the war, they said, urging the people of Tigray region to safeguard its peace by standing with the government. In this sense, they confirmed that they are ready to discharge their role by coordinating the natives of the region and consolidating the achieved peace. They pointed out that they will work to ensure the development journey that Ethiopia has started by resolving any differences through discussion. They also stated that they will work to take Ethiopia into hiatus by mobilizing the people so that the national reform can be achieved in the Tigray region as well. Ethiopians must work together for the development of the country and sustainable peace by maintaining their unity.
You're watching AMECO Haber English service, and now let's proceed to news beyond borders. UN's WHO and health authorities in Gambia said the deaths of at least 70 children from acute kidney injuries could be linked to contaminated syrup manufactured by Maiden Pharmaceuticals Limited. Gambian lawmakers have said that the Indian company Maiden Pharmaceuticals Limited should be held accountable for exporting contaminated medicine linked to the deaths of dozens of young children in the country in 2022. The announcement followed tests on several medicinal syrups suspected of causing child deaths in the West African country. Authorities in the Gambia raised the issue in July after dozens of children began falling sick with kidney problems. Almost all armed groups in Mali that signed a major peace deal in 2015 have suspended their participation in the agreement, decrying the ruling junta's lack of political will to uphold it. The coordination of Azawad Movement (CMA), a predominantly Tuareg alliance that fought the state for years before signing the 2015 deal, along with almost all the other armed groups that signed it, have unanimously decided to suspend their participation in the monitoring and implementation mechanisms of the agreement on Thursday. The statement said the armed groups unanimously regret the lack of political will on the part of the transitional authorities to implement the agreement for peace and reconciliation in Mali. The World Health Organization (WHO) is hopeful that the health emergencies that have troubled the world in 2022 will be declared over at different stages of 2023. Abeba Brahani presents the story.